Ready to redefine your talent strategy? Let's make Redefine the word of the year for your success. Introducing RAS, Recruitment as a Service. Outsource your talent strategy with the O'Connor Group. Our four-tiered approach is crafted to align with your business, whether you're launching a startup or leading a thriving corporation. Our cost-effective solutions are designed to elevate your business and enhance your people strategy, ensuring scalability and strategic growth. Redefine your recruitment strategy with RAS.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Shadow Her's podcast. I'm Marcia O'Connor, the founder of Shadow Her, and also your guest host today. And you know what? I love bringing entrepreneurs on board that really just get it, understand, have a great idea, and they go for it. And no other than Michelle Carfagno, who is our special guest today, basically the founder of the Greater Knead. And you'll see why she calls it that in a second. But Michelle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. This is
Oh my,
awesome.
so excited to have you. Absolutely. And Michelle, you started this I think 2012, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, to walk me through why 2012 and why the Greater Knead?
Yeah, so at that point in my life, I was 27. I had just moved back to the area. I live right outside of Philadelphia, but I was going to school in Chicago and lived in Wisconsin for a while and stayed out there. And I was just at this point in my life that I really wanted to get back home. And I'd always had this dream of starting a business. I remember being 18 and being like, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. And it took me a while to get the confidence that I needed, but I knew that going back home would help kind of stimulate something. And at that point, I'd always loved baking for as long as I can remember. I've been baking since I was like 8 years old. I mean, at that point, I was doing like box cakes mixes and things like that. But all through college, my nickname was Michelle the Baker, but I didn't go to school for baking. I went to school for music business management, like so different. And I graduated and I'm like, nothing really felt like authentic. I wanted to start a business. I couldn't think of anything else. And I knew that it had to be with baking because it was the one thing that I loved the most. And when I moved back home, my sister and my grandfather were just diagnosed with celiac around that same time.
Wow.
So when I was baking, I was really focused on baking foods for my family. And I thought, well, maybe there's something here, and started talking to other people. I actually went to a few cafes in the city in Philly and asked, hey, like, do you guys get requests for gluten-free? And I happened to go into some of the right places because one of the first places I went into, he's like, my daughter was just diagnosed and somebody else's wife was just diagnosed. And so I thought, okay, there's really something here. At that point, I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And then it was a matter of figuring out what product, and my family loved bagels. At that time, I actually had the name Sweet Note Bakery because when I was 18, I have this little like journal and I was doodling like end your day on a sweet note. And at that point, I had known like making cakes and cookies and all sweets. So when I finally got the idea of what I wanted to do, and knowing that I wanted to do gluten-free baked goods, specifically bagels, but I was also doing playing around with muffins and other sweets as well, just trying to figure out like what people wanted. The only name that I had in my head was Sweet Note. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to let that stop me. I don't think it's the end all be all name, but I'm going to start with it. And then about 5 years in is when I rebranded to the Greater Knead. And that name just kind of like came together in like what it is that we're doing, because everything is free from the top 9 allergens. So we don't use gluten, which was safe, for my family. But then I also realized like peanuts, tree nuts, egg, dairy, like those are all concerns too. And so the Greater Knead is really like founded around this idea that it's safe for everybody at the table, like really good foods that you need, and that we're really serving this greater need of people that have to eat allergen free.
That's amazing to have an idea and then to go for it and, take your major and change it around a little bit. What you're doing is really incredible. And when you got started, obviously, people always think, oh, I'm going to start a business and within a year I'll be making this much money and it'll be up and running. It doesn't work like that. Walk me through that first year and some of the pitfalls that you had to go through.
Yeah, I definitely went in a little like ignorant and like starry-eyed of like, yes, I'm gonna be able to replace my income by this time. And I had taken some of my savings. I did end up at that point, like when I moved, I cashed out my 401k. Like I did some things that I knew I needed to do to survive. I was living on my own and trying not to have to move back in with my parents at 27. So I was like really trying. I fortunately didn't have kids at that time. So like my bills were definitely lower. But I got an apartment. I stayed scrappy. I did work a job while I was starting up because I knew that like I needed a certain amount to live.
Yep.
And yeah, I had this goal on my board. Like I knew I needed to get to 1,000 bagels a week. Like that was the number that I needed to like survive and be able to pay myself something that I could live off of for that time being. And it it took a lot longer to get there than I thought, a lot more challenging. Obviously here I am 12 years later, so like I did figure it out. But there were many days that it didn't seem like it was going to be possible. And I remember like laying up at night being like, what did I just do? And then I'd always remind myself that I can always go back to working. I was working in human resources. That's what I was doing before. And I was like, there's just so much that one can do at any time. So I was like, I could always go back. There's always a job out there for me. It may not be what I love, but there's always something that I could be doing. But it was tough in the early days and like figuring out I had to get, I was putting stuff on credit cards because a lot of banks were like, who do you think you are? You have no collateral. Like, I'm not going to give you a loan. I didn't own a home. So there was a lot of challenges in the early days. And sometimes even still there's challenges being, just a women-owned business in general and trying to get access to certain things. So I don't think any of that went away. I just started to like get less scared about those types of things happening. And but I surrounded myself with a lot of people that were entrepreneurs that I could lean on that gave me advice. And they're like, yep, this is what happens. Like you gotta just push through. You gotta problem solve. Like you're going to become the best problem solver. And that's really, what it came to be. So, trying to figure out buying ingredients and, I still had to figure out like formulation issues. I was sharing kitchen space. I was using a bagel shop when they were closed. And then I couldn't pay him rent. So we were like bartering. So I was giving him like free bagels that he could sell. And so, that's how I kind of figured it out. And it wasn't necessarily what I planned. It wasn't what I had on paper of how everything was going to go, but we figured it out along the way.
As you usually do. But there are two things in particular that you mentioned that I want to go back to.
Yeah.
One of them was you had written down your goal. How did you know to write down that goal? Because that is one of the biggest, I would say, reasons for success for a lot of people. They write down their goals. Why did you do that?
Yeah, I think obviously now I understand the importance of all of that. At that time, I think a little bit intuition of just trying to like visualize. And then a lot of other entrepreneurs in my life was like, write down what you want. You've got to believe it to achieve it. It was like a lot of those like adages that people were telling me. So I think it definitely like I leaned a lot on those other people and surrounded myself a lot with people who have been doing or have done what I'm trying to do. I called a lot of people too, like, cause I knew a lot of entrepreneurs not in the food industry. And so that was still super helpful, but I was like, I need to find somebody who's like done this before. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to pick up the phone and see who will talk to me. And I was so surprised how many people were willing to just sit down and have a conversation with me. And so that's where I got a lot of those details of like, writing it out and even like pricing and branding. Like I just got so much help from other people in the community, but I did have to put myself out there, which was definitely scary, like picking up the phone and calling someone.
Oh, it's incredibly scary. And you had, and it goes right into my second question for you, was like your tribe of people that you found. How did you find them? Because that is one of the scariest things, especially for female entrepreneurs, is to find those like-minded people to basically start your tribe.
Yeah. So one was a childhood friend's father. So we'd call each other like pseudo father daughter. So he had a business. I remembered that like growing up. And so I had reached out to him. My father had a cleaning business. And so I asked him quite a bit. And then I started dating someone who had a business. So I just kind of somehow became surrounded by the people that I was inspired by and wanted to be. And then, like picking up the phone and calling a few of these people, I think they encouraged me to do that and to make me feel safe and confident in doing that. And then a few of them like made some introductions like in their network, because you realize like if you're an entrepreneur, like you got to where you are because you did network, and people help people, and so they made some introductions for me early on that really helped too. And so I got a couple really great meetings, and then from those meetings, those people connected me to people, and so you start to realize like it's really a small world. And even though I was talking to like an attorney in the city that I got from like my boyfriend, now husband, he knew somebody in the food industry, and so he connected me. And then I even got some of my first accounts that way. So the place that I was bartering and baking in his facility, he introduced me to a couple cafes in the city that were buying his regular bagels, and he was like, why don't you see if they'll buy gluten-free? And that's how I got my first customers.
And it's a wonderful thing. Now, I imagine you've been doing this for a while now and keeping it moving. What other like groups are you involved with now?
So I am a part of the Women's Business Development Center. I am women owned. So that was a certification that I did pretty soon after I started, maybe a couple years in.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do a lot with that group. I also work a lot with the small business development centers that are set up in our city. So I work a lot with Temple, but I've also done stuff with Drexel and with Wharton Business School.
Yep.
And so I've gotten a lot of support from them in many, many different ways, like all sorts of things. They're really there to help. And then I'm in Bucks County, right outside of the city. So when I moved there, the Business Development Center of Bucks County, I reached out to them, saw what kind of resources they have. And so just really kind of dived in to try to find these like pockets of resources and people.
Yeah, that's the key behind it. And I had gotten really involved with EO when I guess about 2016. And I was a tribe of people and was so limited to women, right? I think it was only 90 members and 3 of us were women.
Wow.
And I was on a mission to change it. Now we run a women's initiative group to try to get more women. And we have like 24 people now are women in the group, which is great. And they're all different backgrounds, but the idea is sticking together. And one of the reasons why Shadow Her was formed was actually creating a community of women entrepreneurs to really help them with their operations more than anything else to get them over that $1 million hump. Because I saw there was definitely a need for that in the area, if not nationwide, actually, which is pretty crazy stuff. So before we can do that, we're going to go to a quick commercial out here, but we're going to talk about right now about your business and about the different varieties you have and being an innovation. So everybody just stay tuned, hang in there, get that coffee going. We'll be right back. This is Shadow Her. I'm Marcia O'Connor. We'll be right back.
When I founded Forge Wealth Management, I created a firm that aims to put our clients' interests first. Our clients are our priority. We create customized financial plans tailored to your needs and deliver them in a clear and concise manner. We are committed to our relationship with you and want to be part of your life journey. Welcome to Forge Wealth Management. We look forward to meeting you.
And we're back again, obviously, with Michelle Carfagno. She is the founder and owner of the Greater Knead, a women-owned business, certified. And we were just talking about her bagels and how she had gotten started and like some of the challenges of starting a company. There are many out there. We're going to talk about, but she's been doing this in 2012 and talking about her business with the bagel side of the house. So Michelle, talk to me about what's next for the Greater Knead, in regards to how many bagels you have, what kind of varieties, and how can we help you?
Yeah, so we have 12 varieties of bagels, but you'll see our top 3 sellers in retail stores, like grocery stores, and then the rest of them are sold on our website. We have plain everything and our French toast bagel, so you can find those at Whole Foods, Wegmans, and then we also have a line of soft pretzels, which we launched in 2021, and I call that my COVID baby because we started playing around with new things through COVID. I think we were so focused on the bagels and expanding those flavors and just trying to figure that out. And we do all of our own manufacturing, which is rare in the food industry. A lot of times you'll use a big manufacturer to make your product. You give them the formula and they scale it. And so that has kind of been our main focus, is like growing our facility. But during COVID, I got the opportunity to have more time. And so started playing around with new formulas. And so we brought that to life, and that's available in 4 flavors. We have classic, and cinnamon sugar, which are in most of the retail stores. That product line is in Sprouts nationwide. And then we also sell the additional flavors on our website. But currently, we are working on some packaging changes. So you can see the current packaging behind me. We have a big focus of red. And so we're looking at bringing in some more color, some more life, like really just telling the story of the brand, the amazing taste and texture, and then the attributes of being allergen-free, and just trying to do a better job of telling that story on our packaging. And then simultaneously, we're working on some formulation changes to just further enhance the shelf life of our product. Currently, it is a frozen product. We're still going to stay in the freezer, but we want to be able to have an extended shelf life for the end consumer to take it out and have, their busy lives. Like, we know people don't have a lot of time to prep their breakfast in the morning, and we want to make that a little bit easier for consumers. Same thing with the soft pretzels. We know that that's a great snack. And so if you can take it on the go with you, and you can take it out of the freezer for, a short period of time. So it's an interesting balance for us, because we don't use preservatives. We're non-GMO. We love having a short ingredient list that people can understand the ingredients. They know what they are. And so we definitely have our work cut out for us, but we're excited to work on that. So that's kind of what's coming. And then once we solve those those problems, we are looking at, what other products we could bring to life. But we really want those 2 product lines to be like the best that they possibly can be. And, as a perfectionist and my hardest critic, I just always think that it could be better. And so we're going to keep pushing that envelope and hopefully make a product that is more useful for everybody. And even if you don't have food allergies, that's really what we want, is just a better product than what's out there, with really clean ingredients, that's safe for the whole family. So I think we're 80% of the way there with what we currently have. We're trying to turn that up a notch.
Oh my gosh, that is so exciting. How are you doing this? How many employees do you have right now?
Yeah, so that is the challenge. Most of our staff, so we have 10 people, and so it's not a huge staff. That's our internal staff. Most of those people are actually making product.
Yep.
We do have machinery, so that certainly helps us make a lot with a small number of people. It's pretty crazy. I mean, before COVID and before we had to force ourselves to invest in machinery because we couldn't find people, we had 20 people. So,
Wow.
we would love to continue to grow the staff, and that's what we're working on. But we were able to find some efficiencies with machinery. And then we have a lot of outsourced staff. So my sales team is outsourced. We use fractional support, so where we're basically a consultant paying for a smaller number of hours. So we don't need a full-time chief of marketing officer. So we have a fractional one. My bookkeeping team is all outsourced. So we do a lot of that so that we can really just focus on our core of who we are. And that's manufacturers of this allergen-free product. But for what we're working on, we're bringing in a food scientist, a project manager. We are bringing in an e-com specialist pretty soon. And again, all of that will be consulting. And I've found that is a really helpful model for us, so that we can kind of turn it off, turn it on when we need it. We're not making a big commitment. And I think post-COVID, a lot of people are becoming entrepreneurs, right? And so they're consulting, and they've got great experience, and they're finally, believing in themselves to do this on their own instead of a part of a larger organization. So it's a great advantage for small business, for us to have someone who is working at Fortune 500 companies, know what we're trying to do, be able to really hone in and do that for us. So it's kind of cool. And I feel like now we're having all of these really great partners. So it's exciting, but we're definitely leaning on other people to help us work on the formula, because that's a whole nother world. I created it, I think, just out of luck and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, like you do in your home kitchen. But commercializing a product is just, there's a lot more science than what you would think just creating something out of your home.
Oh, it's like night and day. Absolutely. And I always tell people, like, do what you do best and outsource the rest. And because, you don't know everything. And I was a former accountant and I thought I could do my own books. And then I finally had someone take that over and she just said, yeah, nice try. And I sat here like, yeah, and now it's great because I don't want to do any of that anymore. But, you have to like let go. And I think that's the hardest part for an entrepreneur because can I afford it? Can I not afford it? And you realize, oh my God, I can afford it. And two, I have more time to do what I do best.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of it all, which for sure people have to learn the hard way, unfortunately, that way.
Mhm.
Um, so you have 10 people, you are growing, you've got new products, new ideas and all. How are you getting the word out in regards to what you do?
Yeah, I think, we're still trying to figure that out in a bigger way, but obviously social media is a huge platform for us to be talking about our product. We do have a freelancer that helps us with that. We actually are creating an internal position for like content and behind the scenes. So we're just starting to identify that we could be doing a better job. It's funny, when I first started, we actually got a decent amount of PR in the very early days when it was me and I had like two other people working for me. It was the three of us. We were three women, and were doing everything. We were making the product, selling the product, delivering the product, and so we got the Philly Inquirer to do an article about us, and it was about these like three women creating this gluten-free bagel, and we were running the social media, and so I think in the early days it was like so much easier because it was like we're capturing it as it was going. And then as we grew, I was like, okay, does it really make sense for me to like be filming content or be like working on sales strategy, And that's been hard. It's been hard. Like, I think we lost a little bit of that. We lost our connection and this like authentic voice with the consumer. And so we're trying to bring that back by having somebody in house. And I am trying to dedicate like some time to posting myself and because I am like the face of the brand. And
Mhm.
it's so easy to just get like focused and be like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that. And honestly, it is what I enjoy. I enjoy connecting with the consumer, but you just come up with a million reasons why like this other thing is more important. And I think we're still trying to figure out that balance of how do we tell the world about us in a like authentic way and in an affordable way too,
Yeah.
because we did have a PR agency for a while, and we got a few really great things, but I think sometimes like just that authentic outreach of like being who we are and attracting people, I mean, that's the power of social media. So I think it's within a lot of businesses like fingertips to be able to do that now in a much more affordable way than like hiring a PR agency.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's hard. It's always going to be consistent out there. I do think the Instagram works a lot for companies like yours, but I also think having an internal person will be very instrumental. We did that. We brought somebody in house, and it was so worth it. It really was really this because they live your culture. They become
Right.
you, and they're out there speaking for you. So, and you have so much else to do that you can't do both, right? So I
Yeah.
think that's a really good move for you guys. Absolutely. But if we can help you at all too, get the word out there for you guys because I love what you guys are doing. And maybe I could see you having some fun with like, the Greater Knead of like, like dough days and just making it like super fun,
That's cute.
because people are like about the celiac is a really huge deal and it's happening more and more out there. But tying it in with the Celiac Foundation or tying it in with I mean, I got so many ideas go in my head right now, and but that's the typical Marcia. But but I think it's such a cool thing. If we can help you at all, let us know. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh my God, my pleasure. So, okay. So you were just saying you're doing this, you're doing that, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. You're married. How do you take care of you?
Yeah. I think that in the early days, I definitely was like super out of balance, just focused on the business. I really kind of just had my head down and was like, nothing else matters. And my husband understood that. And he has two children. So I have two stepkids. And so at that point, I hadn't met them yet. And so, like, his weekends were filled with the kids. And so I found a relationship where it really worked for me. And I had my weekends full working. So that definitely helped, that I kind of built a lifestyle around like this intense hustle. I think I needed to hustle like that in the early days. I don't really have it in me to do that anymore though. I definitely like burn out for sure. And I think um it happened like maybe around year 5. I think I went pretty strong, pretty hard. And then all of a sudden I was just like, I just like can't. And I was having health issues and things like that. And so I just thought I gotta take things seriously. And I think one big thing that happened for me is that around that time at that 5-year mark, my father passed away and he was only 55. And,
Sorry.
he did have cancer, but it was still pretty sudden. He was supposed to like make it through. It was not like a death sentence by any means. And he had a business and he kept working and his business was very physical with like commercial cleaning. And I just saw how like when you don't take care of yourself, there is a price. And I think that that changed the way that I looked at what I was doing. And I thought, actually the most important thing is not my business. It's me. It's my health, it's my well-being, and then it's my family, and then it is the business. And the idea is, yes, if I take care of all of these things, then naturally I'm going to be a better business owner. And I think yeah, it's been an interesting journey. COVID definitely really reinforced that like self-care time. And so I think that that was one of the bigger blessings that I could take away from that. And so I do make time for myself. I used to start my days so early. The first thing I did was check email, and I just felt like I had to do all that. And I don't do that anymore because it's just not healthy. And I don't check my email right before bed because for whatever reason, there's always something negative. It's like that would always be the last email I would read, and then I wouldn't get good sleep. And so I've kind of built some boundaries around when I'm working, like checking email. I think, yes, my brain's always still going with ideas, but that's because I love what I do and I love that part of it. But I protect myself from the parts that are sort of damaging to my emotions, which is like reading a negative email or, like late at night or first thing in the morning that really sets the tone. And then I did also start like doing certain types of meditations and getting like therapy and just getting support to make sure that because it is hard and it's lonely and you put a lot of pressure on yourself. And so there's just a lot of emotion that goes into it all. And then, yeah, like every day is not perfect. Like there's days when I'm like, I really want to be able to like have dinner on the table and that's important to me to like take care of my family too. And there are days that I do that and I feel really great. And then there's days that I'm so stressed and then I'm like, it's like this internal battle of like, what's more important? And, and then you sort of don't win anywhere because you're trying to be everything. And, but yeah, I think slowly but surely and just like reminding myself and having those boundaries has definitely helped.
Yeah, it's not easy. I can tell you that. I've been doing this for 17 years of my own business, and it's a challenge every day. And we got to watch that burnout piece of it. And when it comes, it really hits you pretty hard. And then you have to really like take a step back because if not, it could like make like suck you in, shall I say, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, I'm glad you're doing that and getting that moving, which is really awesome. Well, I always ask all my hosts and my guests here, what do you do for reading? Do you do Audible or do you do books?
I do a little bit of both. I like Audible because if I'm driving, I do a lot of travel, not as much as I used to because now
Right.
there's so much virtual, but definitely like audiobooks was what I did. I think I'm getting a little bit more into reading, trying to spend a lot of time at the shore because we're so close to the Jersey Shore. So like take a book and sit on the beach and read. I've also tried to rotate reading books for fun, not just always for business, because I just always forced myself. Like this was part of the burnout was like, okay,
Yep.
if I do get a second to myself, I'm going to read a book that's going to better my business. And again, super highly functional for me. And yeah, I learned a lot. But again, like when is my brain ever like just kind of enjoying the moment? And, so I think I have the rotation of like some business books. And then I've really been trying to force myself to just read books for fun too.
Mhm.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
No, I'm with you there. I'm doing a lot more of that. And I get so, like, when I get a really good book, I get so engrossed in it. And it's just almost like I start dreaming about it. I start thinking about
Yeah,
it, and I'm just like, ooh, like I'm off of work now, which is great. My
right.
team loves seeing that, but it takes a little while to do. It's like a vacation. It takes me about 4 days into the vacation before I really feel vacation.
Yes.
So
Agreed.
unfortunately, we're always on. Entrepreneurs are always on. We just think about our business all the time and what can we do better and how to do it faster and quicker and everything else. But I'm so glad that you are doing what you're doing. You're taking the time for you to get it moving. I wish you only the very best of luck. We're here to help you. I have a great newsletter that goes out every 2 weeks called The Connector. We'll make sure that we put your information out there. And I have other ideas for you too, but I'll tell you offline.
Awesome.
And to get you going, how do people get a hold of you?
So our website is the probably best place to go because you can buy us online, but you can also search to see what stores we're in, and that is thegreaterknead.com. And Knead is Knead. But if you go there, you can search where we're available near you, and if you can't find a store, you can purchase them online.
So wonderful. I am so proud of you. To start something at 27 years old is really, really hard. I started at 39. My son was 6 years old. And, I just knew that failure was not an option. And then we had the Great Recession. It was awesome. And then you just live through it and you can talk about it to people and say, look, I've done it. You can do it. And that's what you're doing. You're being an inspiration to so many other entrepreneurs, whether male or female. So kudos to all you are doing and what you are doing. And you're making a major difference in the world. Don't forget that. Okay.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
So it's so cool. Well, thank you, Michelle Carfagno, for being on our show today, The Greater Knead. Guys, if I'm telling you, everybody we know now has somebody that has celiac out there or a gluten allergy. So definitely look at and try to get her bagels. I've had them before. They are delicious. And I'm a gluten-free snob. So by all means, she is the best out there. I haven't tried the pretzels yet, but I have to definitely do that because I love soft pretzels. And you just sold me when you said brown sugar. So which is a beautiful thing for sure out there. Everybody, this is Shadow Her. I am Marcia O'Connor. I am the founder of Shadow Her. I am so excited to have these wonderful guests. Thank you so much for listening. And don't forget, believe in you because we do. Until then, guys, take care.